We put these full-frame, full-bodied, mirrorless flagship cameras from Nikon and Canon, the R3 and the Z9, head-to-head to see who has the better video features, and you'll be surprised who wins. Are you a beginner filmmaker? Well, if you are, we have a shopping list for you of the 9 essential things every beginner filmmaker needs to have. It's really easy to get. All you have to do is go and click on the card there and enter your email address, and you'll get it sent directly to your inbox.
We have full reviews on both of these cameras, and remember to like and subscribe.
Hey, Chris here from Videomaker. In this video, we're going head to head with the Nikon Z9 and the Canon EOS R3 to find out which is better when it comes to video. We're going to cover 15 different categories, and they're all going to be weighted the same, and we're going to get 1 point apiece to find out at the very end who has the most points and which camera is better for video shooters. The 15 scoreable categories are as follows: the top resolution, top frame rate, top bit depth and codec, size and weight, monitor articulation, monitor resolution, media, shot assists, low light performance, the dynamic range, skin tone, autofocus, stabilization, lens selection, and we're going to end with which camera has a better price. Then we're going to tally up all the points and find out who is the winner of this flagship mirrorless competition. We started out by doing a poll on the community section on YouTube to find out who you all thought would win. And it's really surprising, and it's quite a landslide. If you see here that overwhelmingly the R3 was who you thought would win. So let's find out. First category is resolution. The Canon R3 can shoot 6K 60p up to 12-bit RAW, and the Nikon Z9 can shoot 8K 30p 10-bit or 12-bit RAW, which is incoming. The winner is the Nikon Z9 for having a higher resolution at 8K. Now let's talk about the highest frame rate. Both cameras can shoot up to 4K in 120 frames per second. That's fantastic, but neither camera wins. It's a tie. Moving on to bit depth and codec, both cameras can shoot up to 12-bit RAW as well as 10-bit internal. However, the Nikon Z9 also offers the ability to capture internal ProRes and will also offer ProRes RAW. It would be a tie, but because it includes ProRes, the Nikon Z9 is the winner. Next up is the size and weight. The Canon R3 is 5.9 by 5.6 by 3.4 inches and weighs 2.2 pounds with the battery and memory. With the Nikon Z9, it is 5.9 by 5.9 by 3.6 inches and 2.9 pounds with battery and memory. Winner is the Canon EOS R3. It wins because it's a bit shallower and deeper and 0.7 pounds lighter. Now this next category is really not too much contention. The monitor articulation. There's full articulation, fully articulating screen on the EOS R3. However, you have a 4-axis, or what they're calling 4-axis tilting touchscreen LCD. It's a little clumsy, it's very strange. The winner is the Canon EOS R3 because the monitor goes wherever you need it to. Now monitor resolution, it really wasn't much of a chance here. The EOS R3 is a far higher resolution rear screen. In fact, it's almost double at 4.15 million dots compared to the Z9 at 2.1 million dots. The winner is the Canon EOS R3. Now let's talk about the media. The cameras both have dual card slots, with the R3 having an SD card slot and a CF Express Type B. The Z9 has 2 card slots, but they're backwards compatible with XQD, or you can use CF Express Type B. For the reason that they have 2 of the same card slots, and you won't have to buy 2 different types of media, the Nikon Z9 wins. When it comes to shot assists, both the cameras have the same features, really. They have peaking, they have zebras, they have audio meters, and they have a histogram. However, there is just a little bit of difference between the two. The R3 won't continue to have the histogram on when you're recording. Kind of a bummer. And the Z9 actually has different tonal ranges for zebras, and the histogram will stay on while recording. And for that reason, the Nikon Z9 wins for having the best shoot assists. Which camera has the better low light performance? Well, we did an ISO ramp from ISO 100 all the way up to their highest ISO to find out at what point does noise introduce into the picture, so you know at what level you can crank your ISO without having a really noisy image. There's 2 levels of this, both cameras at 4K and then at their top resolution. In 4K, the EOS R was noiseless up to ISO 6400, but would be safe to shoot up to 12,800. With the Z9, noise begins at ISO 800, but isn't an issue until ISO 6400, but we would use ISO 12,800 in a pinch, but not make it a habit. Now, when it comes to their higher resolutions, there's a significant difference in the two cameras. At 6K RAW, the Canon EOS R3 is perfect up to 12,800, and we'd shoot it all the way up to 25,600 without hesitation. And now with the Z9 in 8K, there's far less noise, and it starts at ISO 6400 and is workable all the way up to ISO 25,600. Winner is the Canon EOS R3. In 4K, the low light performance is 1 stop better, and in 6K RAW, it is 2 to 3 stops greater. Talking about dynamic range next, we used our DSC Labs Xyla 21 chart to see how much dynamic range both the cameras offered. And we saw both had 13 stops of dynamic range, with the EOS R3 having 2 more stops with very little information, but still just a tad bit more dynamic range than the Z9. The winner is the Canon R3. Now let's talk about skin tone. This is somewhat of a personal preference depending on what looks you like. We found a significant difference between the two images, and one we just tended to like better. The Canon R3 has the typical Canon look. It's strong contrast and it looks great. However, the Z9 was just much more flattering and felt much more natural. We immediately liked its look a little bit better, and for that reason, the Nikon Z9 wins for better skin tone. Now on to autofocus. These cameras both have amazing autofocus performance. It's definitely something you can rely on when shooting video. We wouldn't worry too much about it as long as it's set up correctly. The R3 was really easy to get set up and to get functioning the way we wanted it, not because we were more familiar with Canon, but just because it was far more intuitive to figure out. Whereas the Z9, we actually had to get help from Nikon to get the best settings for us to use. Because it has a stronger autofocus system and it's more intuitive to use, the Canon R3 wins for better autofocus. Image stabilization on these cameras is better than what you'd find in their DSLR family because, well, they have IBIS, in-body image stabilization. They offer 5-axis sensor shift stabilization. They both performed equally well. It is a tie. No one wins for better image stabilization. Now let's talk about lens selection. We're going to talk only about the native lenses that you can use on these cameras made by the manufacturer. So Nikon lenses for Nikon, Canon lenses for Canon. The R3 has 28 lenses to choose from, including 2 tele-extenders plus 3 RF adapters for EF to RF. Whereas the Nikon Z9 has 31 lenses, including 2 tele-extenders and 2 adapters for F to Z. Winner is the Nikon Z9 for having a better native lens selection. Now, last up is the price. This is really simple. One is $500 more than the other, and that's the R3. The R3 is $6,000, with the Z9 being $5,500. The Nikon Z9 wins for a better price. Before we get to the scorecard, remember, if you want to get our shopping list for the 9 essential things for every beginner filmmaker needs, just click on the card right there and you can put in your email address and we'll get it sent to you right to your inbox. Now let's get to that scorecard. Top resolution, Nikon Z9 wins. Top frame rate is a tie. Top bit depth and codec, the Nikon Z9 wins. Size and weight, the Canon R3. Monitor articulation, the Canon R3. Monitor resolution, the Canon R3. Media is the Nikon Z9. Shot assist is the Nikon Z9. For low light performance, the Canon R3. Dynamic range, the Canon R3. For skin tone, the Nikon Z9. For autofocus, the Canon R3. For image stabilization, it's a tie. And for better native lens selection is the Nikon Z9. And last up is, for price, the Nikon Z9. And if you were counting like I was, that means the Nikon Z9 wins with 7 points over 6 points on the R3 with 2 ties. We were really surprised with that result. It was not what we were expecting. However, it's really close. I mean, some of that was subjective and the Canon could have just as well won. They are really quite good foes. They are very, very level when compared on our 15-point scale. Now, this is, of course, somewhat subjective, but tell us what you think in the comments below. What did we get wrong? What did we get right? And how can we make this better heads up in the future? Thanks for watching, and I've been Chris from Videomaker, and keep doing the hard work that you do. Bye-bye.